Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to queue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome one and all. I am super excited that you've joined me on this magical today. And today I was going to play a Neville Goddard clip. And instead, I found an Abraham Hicks clip talking about the Neville Goddard teachings, which was very, I immediately was like, oh, what's this? And upon listening to it, I found it to be absolutely perfect. I love it because it is talking about one of my favorite things to talk about, which is meditation on a daily basis and why it is so important, especially for all of you overthinkers, overanalyzers out there. I'm going to rephrase that. I used to be one of those people. I still am a thinker. I love to think. I love to explore in my mind. And at the same time, I've learned to quiet all of that down because I understand the benefits of it. And I want all of you to understand the benefits of it too, because it is truly our most powerful tool that we have to connect with our own inner being, to quiet our mind, and to give ourselves the peace that we're all really looking for. So here's Abraham Hicks talking about the teachings of Neville Goddard. Take a listen.
I run a consulting agency, and the basis of what we teach is primarily from your friend Neville. And I love Neville because it's very process, it's very strategy. And before I found Neville, I found you. And I loved you because you're so abstract. But I'm very logical, as much as I can be in the clouds. And I find that, for me, Neville has become almost like a religion at this point. It's become dry. And, stepping into the feeling of my wish fulfilled is not fun anymore, right? Trying to find those feelings. And
then you haven't found them. If you haven't found them, you haven't synced up with Source. And if you haven't synced up with Source, then there's no momentum. Yeah. So we would understand then why you'd want to process your way through it, because it's better than thinking you're standing still.
Right.
Do you meditate?
I don't segment time out of my day.
Let's just tell you the advantage of that, because we can feel how these are very strong things that we can feel about, that we know about you. You are process-oriented, nothing wrong with that. You are focused. You're like a dog on a bone. When you get hold of something, you really give it attention. And because you do, momentum picks up and you find productivity from that. And that's a good thing. When you quiet your mind, it feels counterintuitive because you like to think and you like action. And that's all right. We think that action and thinking are all good things too. We just want you to be really in the receiving mode so that you have the full benefit of all of your resources before you begin moving forward. And so the reason that we really encourage meditation on a daily basis is because the only way that we know for sure that anyone can quickly allow their vibration to rise, because it rises naturally. You don't have to push it up there. Just let go of the resistance and up it will go. So the fastest, simplest way to allow your vibration to rise is to cease the thought that's keeping it from rising. And so rather than ask you to think this thought that feels better than this thought, when there's so much momentum that law of attraction won't let you let loose of it, we have found that it's much easier for you to just quiet your mind altogether rather than to sort out the good feeling thoughts from the not good feeling thoughts. So once you quiet your mind, and it's not hard to do, find something to focus on that's boring. Like in this room, listen to the sound of the air conditioner. Hear it? Most people, if they were to focus on that, at first it would feel really boring. But most people don't find much to think about. Like you don't think, I've heard better. It's sort of just a boring thing that doesn't activate much going on in your mind. And if you focus on it, your mind wanders. It will. Focus on it again. And your mind will wander. Focus on it again. And after a little while, your thoughts will have quieted enough, because you've used your dog on a bone ability to focus on that. Now, the benefit of that is that has no resistance. That thought about that, it never wronged you, it never abandoned you, it never cheated you, it never hurt your feelings, it never distrusted you, it never accused you of anything. It's just the closest thing to a neutral non-thought that you can find. So when you find this neutral non-thought, your mind does what it naturally does. It shuts down. Sort of like when you go to sleep, but you're not asleep, you're focused on that. So now your vibration rises. And as your vibration rises, now, without you maybe even knowing you've done it, you have achieved vibrational alignment with the vibration of your source, where all the good ideas are. And so in that non-thought, there's a feeling of satisfaction. Now, you might meditate for 20 minutes and you might not actually get there till minute 19. You might not get there at all, but tomorrow you might get there at minute 18 or 19. But once you do that day after day, what begins to happen is you start to crave or anticipate that feeling of detachment, and you start to settle in to this profound feeling of contentment or satisfaction as you just rest in the energy of well-being. You don't have to be there very long before the momentum, you see, your vortex is not inactive, it's active. Your inner being does not have a quiet mind. Your inner being has a really active mind. So when you allow yourself just for a moment to tune into that, now your inner being will be gentle with you. Your inner being knows what your path of least resistance is. Your inner being will feed you thoughts, project to you thoughts that you can very well receive, that will just lead you into this momentum of such feelings of exhilaration and feelings of good timing and things that show you right away the result of you having achieved vibrational alignment with who you really are. And then all that process work you've done, all that sifting and sorting work you've done that has filled your vortex full of details that are important to you. Now these details will start showing up in your life as if your inner being is following an absolute blueprint of the things that you like the concierge in the sky knows so clearly everything that you want and has the ability to put many of them in the same moment, in the same moment, in the same moment. So you're just satisfied as all kinds of subjects of creation are in various phases of unfolding in your experience. So delicious. Everything about what you're doing is a wonderful thing. We're not offering one piece of resistance at all about anything you said or about anything you've been doing. We just know for sure that you have untapped resources here that you want to feel your way toward. And you got to feel your way toward it, because when you think your way toward it, you get off on wild goose chases. It's kind of like rebooting. One of the things that Esther notices when she calls her genius Mark, who knows everything about all the IT things in her life, she calls him frequently. His most common answer is, "Did you reboot it?" And Esther always laughs because that always works, but she always waits for Mark to tell her to do it. Did you reboot? Because that solves almost everything. Think about it in your electronic world. So you've got all these programs that are trying to talk to each other, and some of them are compatible and some of them aren't, and the computer's all wadded up in it, and it's got all these streams of things going on in it inside of it, and it's going the long way to everything. It's going all the way to the cloud, whatever that is, and coming back, and it's in a building over there somewhere, and so just reboot it, and everything just stops, and then it just starts up in its simple format, and it leaves all that convoluted stuff out. Well, that's what you do when you meditate. You reboot. Connect with the whole of who you are. And you don't disengage from all the wisdom you learned from Neville. You don't waste anything. That may be light years ahead of what you're learning here from Abraham. But what you're getting from Abraham is a basis that will let you get the brilliance of whatever else you're reaching for. There's a lot of more technical study than what we are offering here. There are scientists that understand things that Esther cannot begin to find words for. There are physicians that understand body parts that Esther doesn't want to think about. There are all kinds of information that you have access to. Just go through your inner being. Let your inner being guide you to it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'll just say that. You know, I usually ask myself, okay, I get a desire. I say, how would it feel if I had this right now? And in the beginning, when I started using that technique, it was great. There was flow.
But here's the problem with that.
Right.
How would it feel if I had this right now, which I don't?
Exactly.
Instead, you want to say, is this a satisfying thought? Right here and now. Did I open the gate or did I close it? Feel the difference? How does it feel? How does it feel? Not that good. How about that? Not that good either. How about that? Oh, kind of like that. Just let your satisfaction guide you. It will never misguide you. Your inner being knows where you want to be, but this is the most important thing that you'll ever hear from us. Your inner being knows where you want to go. More important, your inner being knows what your most likely path of getting there is. And your path is different from every other person on the planet. And every other person on the planet is irrelevant to you, because you have your own personal guidance system that was with you as you gave birth to each and every particle of each and every desire. That's why we can say this. Satisfaction comes from one place and one place only. You having identified a desire and you moving in the direction of it. Syncing with your inner being. You don't have to get there, just have to not move away from it. Good to know, huh?
Yes.
You're doing extremely well.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 There's only a minute left in this segment, so we'll just ramble for a minute rather than get in the middle of something. Just taking your vibrational temperature. You're doing really well. Do you know it? This is a really good time for a segment of refreshment.
Here's what I think is such a beautiful thing to think about. We are all individuals here on this planet, in this universe. We all have our own individual path. We all have our own individual ways of seeing things, a way of doing things. We have our own collective complex of what makes us us and what we need in order to take that next step, or how we need to understand things. Each and every single one of us is so incredibly different in that way. At the same time, each and every single one of us, not a single one of us excluded, has the same exact internal guidance system. The difference is how many of us are actually listening to it on a daily basis and taking the time for ourselves to sit in meditation. This is a primary self-care practice. It is incredibly huge if we want to learn how to love ourselves, take care of ourselves properly, and increase our vibration like we all want to do. This is the way to do it. And meditation is not just for the overthinkers. It's for everyone. Each and every single one of us here having this human experience also goes through that conundrum that I talked about last week of being in this human experience and trying to understand all the different thoughts in our mind, our conscious mind thoughts and the thoughts of our inner being, because our inner being is always talking to us, always, always. and to be able to have that discernment within our own minds. That is super helpful along our journey. And we can get that discernment. We can develop that discernment for ourselves when we sit in meditation. And her points there on how to do that are so wonderful. These are things that I do as well. I sit outside when I meditate. And what I like to do is focus on all of the sounds that I hear. I have a lot of birds around me, so I luckily get to hear a lot of birds. At the same time, there are planes and trucks and things that go by that I also hear. And what I love about that is because I can focus on this sound, I can also train myself to really focus on just one out of all those sounds. It's a beautiful way to train your mental focus. And like she said, when our mind does wander off, because it's natural for it to do so, to catch it and bring it back to that neutral thought. The more we stay in that neutral thought, that non-thinking place, the more we quiet that conscious mind, that left side of the brain that doesn't know much of anything and is keeping us confused, the more we go into that deep inner being and we just allow it, just as naturally as we fall asleep at night. We just allow this non-thinking process. We don't have to try. We just do. We just sit in it and allow it. We just drop all control altogether and sit in it. It's such a beautiful thing. Remember, what's so important about all of this is to feel the feeling, to get in this place where we are connected to Source, connected to each other, to feel this oneness within each and every one of us. From this place, we remember who we are and we remember what we're here to do. And it makes it a whole lot easier for us to manifest the life that we desire, because then we feel stronger in our own selves enough to absolutely be able to follow our passions. I know it's not always an easy thing, but the more we practice these things, the easier and easier it does get. Like she said, doing it daily, each and every day, you will build upon this practice. So I encourage you, each and every single one of you, if you don't have a daily meditative practice going yet, please start one. Start for 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day. That's all. Everyone has 5 minutes a day. Grant yourself that gift of giving to yourself 5 minutes of me time, 5 minutes of self-care time, 5 minutes of inner being connectedness time. And you may not get there in 5 minutes, and that's okay. The more you try, the more you build, you will get there. I promise you, because we each have this within us. Not a single one of us doesn't. So that means we are all one. We are all the same, and at the same time, so individually, beautifully different. I think that's it for me today, everyone. I love you all so much. I'm going to leave you with this song by Volo called Inner Spark. Until next time, I love you all.